All right, I'm live. Learning about movies. Professor Matthews, this is the 2023 Oscars just wrapped up yesterday. How y'all doing? Did you watch it? Do you even care? What did you think about what happened? Let us know in the comments. I'm going to check out the comments in a little bit, but I'm going to give you my perspective. Might as well give you my hot takes or cold takes or dad takes, whatever the heck they are. Oh man. Yeah, this was a good year for Oscars. They actually didn't think they could screw it up, given the nominee list they produced. And by the way, I have to do my disclaimers. This is the typical disclaimers that I usually get. I've been giving here for a few years on this one. The Oscars are what a marketing tool. They get names and publicity out there. It's partly a vanity show as well, as you know. The stars parade around. That's what it was created for, in my opinion. Or one of the several things it was created for, to show off the stars and to market. But, this thing has been going for 95 years, and I will praise it a little bit in that it does give us, it's our one tool, there's only one really, to show what the best of the year was. Whether they got it right or wrong, you can argue about that. I think it's probably right like 33 to 50% of the time, I think. A third to a half, maybe I'm overvaluing it, saying it's it's doing too well. But if it's at a third, if they get a third of the things right, or a third of the best ofs right, or close to the best ofs, if they get the top five, like one of the best wins, that's pretty good. It's probably better than most other groups could do. And there's a lot of hazards with this thing because these people know each other. They don't represent the population of people who watch the movies and so on. So they could be really wildly wrong, and sometimes they are. In fact, I forgot, just to show you, that Coda won last year. I just had totally forgot about that. I put it out of my head. Right? And actually, as I look at last year's best picture nominees, this is a pretty woeful list, in my opinion. It's not great. There are not a lot of memorable movies, and maybe that was because of the year or a bad selection. I have to go back through 2021 to see what they whiffed on. But as far as 2022, I've said this many times on this channel this year, the last 6 months, I thought it was a good nominee list. And, I mean, at least 4 of these movies I think are very good, which are Everything Everywhere. Here are the ones I really love and I think people should watch. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I did, by the way, I promote myself. I did it, well, that's not me. Well, that's part of, okay, I subscribe to this Substack, Ted Joya. He's a musician, or excuse me, a musical historian and musical analyst, but he did a really good article on audiences growing weary of stories that never end. I just watched Avengers Infinity War yesterday. So speaking of stories that never end, and that was a really good article. But what I want to get to, the first Substack I think the first one I ever wrote, which not a very catchy title, but I did on Everything Everywhere. I rewatched it and I analyzed it, and I looked at this image of the circle, the black circle that comes up in it, the image of nihilism, but everything, and even the letters in the name. So you can check out my Substack for self-promotion here. Well, but what I was saying was Everything Everywhere is pretty good. We'll just leave it at pretty good. I could say it's great, but let's just say pretty good, watchable, entertaining. By the way, from a creator's point of view, I create videos on YouTube, and they're super simple, editing-wise, cinematography-wise, videography-wise. I watched this movie and was totally blown away in the theater by just the way it was made. The editing, I think the film editor won for Best Oscar. It's amazing. So if you're making YouTube videos like me or any other kinds of creator content, and you look at this movie, Everything Everywhere, like that, wow, how did they do that? That's amazing. It's inspirational. I feel inspired by that movie, just from a making standpoint. All Quiet on the Western Front, pretty good movie. Banshees, pretty good movie. Tar, pretty good movie. Okay, those are the ones I really love or liked or recommend to other people. And then I have not seen The Fabelmans still. Triangle of Sadness, haven't seen it. And then they put Avatar in here and Top Gun. One hot take is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Someone on my Discord said that they always give a Best Picture winners are, they usually give those out as apology awards. They're like they're apologizing for something. I don't know what they're apologizing for in some of these, but everything everywhere. The conspiracy theory on that one is they gave it to. This is me. I'm totally making this up. I didn't read this. They gave it to because to apologize for Marvel. Right? Everything everywhere is a gigantic and clever riff on Marvel stuff, recent Marvel stuff, all the Marvel franchise. And so they've never acknowledged Marvel, even though the film industry is thriving on Marvel. People are making tons of money on that stuff. Studios, actors, and so on. So they did give it to Top Gun, a nomination for Best Picture, but not for Marvel. Marvel's never gotten one. So Everything Everywhere was a veiled reference to that. I also think it's to make up for, and not really, I don't think anyone actually voted for it this way, but to make up for the lack of martial arts pictures. When has a martial arts picture ever been acknowledged as like an amazing, amazing work of art by the Academy? They love. Here's another thing I love about this pick this year, the Best Picture winner. They always pick these sad dramas, or it's like serious human interest dramas. Now, Everything Everywhere All at Once was a drama, has a lot of melodramatic stuff in it, but ends up being a comedy. One, it's kind of funny. Actually, for to some taste, it's really funny. But two, it's not really a spoiler. It ends happily, right? And the happy ending, everything coming together, and it's funny. So this is a rare movie that way. A lot of these movies are not that much. Although I went back through, like, there's funny stuff in it, but it's not very happy stuff, as it turns out. If you just look at the winners, maybe Birdman was. So martial arts, they're making up for that. We're 60 years or beyond great martial arts pictures from China and Japan and United States and so on. So I don't know. The movie wasn't a martial arts movie, but there's a lot of that material in it. So anyway, leave your comments over here. I'll look at it. Someone's saying Everything Everywhere All at Once was dumb. Yeah, I mean that. I'm sure there's like counter takes to that it's a very good movie. And I'm totally open to any opinion on that. I wonder if it's going to last forever, if it's going to last 10 years, or if it's going to look dated. And I have no earthly idea. I actually think a couple of these won't look dated. I don't think Banshees will look dated. Not sure that Tar will look dated. And I bet All Quiet on the Western Front could last a long, long time. These war movies tend to age, I think, pretty well. So, of course, they aren't picking the best of, thinking of long term. In 20, 50, 100 years, will people still love it? They don't think that way, and that may be a flaw in the voting. But it would be hard to predict what people like in the long term. So I have no earthly idea if this Everything Everywhere All at Once will look dated, either in terms of its visuals or in terms of its themes. We just don't know. But this is like the first time, I'm going to scroll back up. Let's do the last 10 years. Probably the only one I've really liked in the last 10 years. I did like The King's Speech, but against this lineup, that's a tough lineup. The Artist, Argo, 12 Years a Slave, Birdman. I liked Birdman a lot. Maybe compared to that group. And then you look at these, you go, okay, not bad, okay, not bad, okay. Controversial, some people don't like them. I didn't like Parasite, but whatever. Coda, really? So I think this one's a pretty strong Best Picture winner. All in all, and to give the nod to martial arts, that's good enough for me. I'm going to go, this is the Variety website, whatever, who cares about Variety, but they have a list here, so we can look at these and we can see what won. By the way, I did not watch the show. I don't know when I've last watched it. Maybe it was like 1995. Really? It's 4 hours long. I could do many, many things in 4 hours. So my wife said, let's watch Avengers with our kids. Okay. Avengers Infinity War. That's what we did. So maybe that was a way to prepare for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Certainly, the directors here should give a nod to Marvel and say thank you. Best lead actress. Do you care or not? So many great actresses in the world, so many great performances. Like, I don't know. But I was disappointed Kate Blanchett didn't get it. I was rooting for her. What are you gonna do though? I think she should be remembered for that. That was fantastic. I thought it was a fantastic movie. Great role. Good job, Kate Blanchett. I have really no more strong opinions here. Like best lead actor, I would have rooted for Colin Farrell. Personally, I thought that was a hard role. I've said that before on this channel. I think playing a dumb character who's yet a full embodied human who is complex and rich and yet dumb is, I mean, sort of dumb, at least dumb in the eyes of his ex-friend, is pretty hard to pull off. I thought Colin Farrell was fantastic in this movie. So I've not seen The Whale, and that's because Darren Aronofsky, for a long, long time, refused to put it on streaming so that no one could see his movie. And then it wasn't widely released, like total wide release. So, haven't seen The Whale. I will watch it. I do like Aronofsky movies in general. I would recommend many of them to you, but I have no earthly clue if this was a good vote. Best directors, that's probably right. Wild guess, probably right. Film editing, I totally agree with that, although I did not see Elvis. So, I mean, actually, I like these categories the best. Like, now you can see names that you haven't thought of before. Who the heck is Paul Rogers? We could even look him up. I did look him up several months ago. I forget. As soon as I saw the movie, I thought, man, that's just great editing. So Paul Rogers, we can look him up and see. But, you know, now you can, and this is what I strongly recommend, keeping track of people or people who in the industry who really like their work and keep watching their stuff, even if their stuff is terrible. Yeah, he hasn't done much. The things he's done are not, one or two full-length features. So enjoy the boon to your career, Paul Rogers. I thought it was an amazing job of editing. How do you bring all that stuff together in a meaningful, rich, interesting way? It's amazing. Watch that movie just for its editing. Best sound. Yeah. Best adapted script. I should look at that because I love sound, but it's never clear to me whether that's sound that's not music. I'm not sure the criteria for that. So, is it the whole range of sound? Is it the dialogue, sound effects? I know there's other categories for that. Adapted screenplay, original screenplay. They have very bizarre rules for this. I do not understand that at all. And I will say, I think Banshees is a better original screenplay, at least from the finished product. But on my Discord, by the way, sign up for my Discord. It's good. People are talking about whether they judge these screenplays on the written screenplays, the actual scripts, and do people read those, or do they just watch the movie and judge the scripts based on the final product, the movie itself? I actually don't know. Maybe some of you know, but I don't. So screenplay, it's like, did they read the original one? Because that may be what they should judge it on. And I thought, Banshees, McDonough's always so good with words. Great writer. Anyway, you could look at the rest of these, and I haven't thought too hard about them, other than, where the heck did animated go? Maybe it's not here yet. Best animated short film. That's why I feel like there it is, and I skipped it. All Quiet won for best international feature. I have not seen these to know. Argentina 1985 looks interesting to me. EO looks like that donkey movie from Bresson redone. Maybe it's not, which I hated. For various reasons. By the way, if you want to know what I see people on the chat going, what do you think about this or that? Always you could go to Letterboxd with the D on the end. I promote it. I don't get paid, but I usually have write-ups on some of these. They're usually my notes to myself, not official write-ups, but yeah. Best cinematography, All Quiet on the Western Front. I saw that Roger Deakins thought, what did he think? The Batman should have won. So when Roger Deakins speaks, we'll listen, I suppose. But, okay. They're doing this in reverse order of how they're presented. So we get down to Best Supporting and Best Animated. I'll look at Best Animated. Now, here's a question for you. This is going to be so ridiculous. The Minions movie. The second Minions movie. I'm going to look this up. Didn't that come out last year? Am I just crazy? Okay, I just watched that this weekend. The Rise of Gru. No one cares at this point. I thought this was kind of fun. I thought this was an homage to classic silent films. I thought this was very funny. My kids thought it was funny. And as I look back on this, I'm like, why isn't it there? I don't know. Should it have been? I've seen the Sea Beast. That's kind of a clunker, in my opinion. Now, the Minions is not good on plot. Who cares about the plot, though? I feel like that should just be on here, by the way. And Pinocchio is a bummer of a movie. I raked it over the coals in my reviews. I thought it was not great. But you could say it's best animated because of the way it looks. And, some one or two or three aspects of it. So if you're voting just on that, like the way it looks, how it's created, the difficulty in creating it, blah, 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 then great. But I thought this was an extremely weak feel. That's why I'm trying to pick it apart and saying Minions. But of course, Minions is Minions. It's not like amazing cinema. It's just fun, in my opinion. Best supporting, I never know what to do with this because they're like, they nominate people who were in the movie for 5 minutes. They'll take people who had a large role and then diminish them and say supporting. So Brendan Gleeson, like he was like wildly important to that movie. He was a main character. I don't know why he's supporting. I don't get the rules, but whatever. I'm not complaining about this. God bless her, Jamie Lee Curtis, whatever. I don't know her, don't know anything about her. She won. She's been in Hollywood forever. Obviously from a Hollywood family. I don't know why they give awards, but this was... I didn't think that performance was that strong. In fact, and I don't know how to say it, Stephanie Sue was really good in that movie. I think she made that movie happen, Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I would prefer to give it to her. And I don't know if this is a legacy award or not. And Carrie Condon was excellent as well. I did not see the other two movies. Best supporting actor, there you go. I don't know how you can beat Brendan Gleeson, but whatever. It was Everything Everywhere All at Once this year. And I expect some rebuttals. Actually, I do expect the multiverse thing to stop. That's actually why I brought up the Ted Gioia article. This is his Substack. You'd have to subscribe to get the whole thing. But the backlash against stories that never end. The multiverse idea that when characters die, and this is Avengers, when characters die, it doesn't matter because we'll just resurrect them in the next movie so we can make a ton of money off of it. You do wonder when people, Gen Z, 13-year-olds who turn into 16-year-olds, who turn into 20-year-olds get sick of that. I don't know. I know that's a tradition in comic books is to have the characters die and resurrect, and they've done that for 70, 80 years, and then it's happening in movies. But the multiverse idea may die. I actually thought Everything Everywhere All at Once in my Substack, I say this, did quite a good job of sort of making it a good philosophical inquiry, good basic artistic philosophical inquiry into why am I me and not some other person? It's a classic middle-aged and even old-age question. Why did I go down the path I did or choose the things I did? I could have been all these other things, but now I'm me, myself. That is not usually a question that 18-year-olds or 16-year-olds are asking themselves. They feel like the world's in front of them, their life's in front of them, they could be anything they want, they could change whenever they want, career-wise, etc. But when you get to be my age, you ask these questions. That this movie did, I thought that was interesting, application of the multiverse idea. And it allowed them to bring together all kinds of cinematic tradition, hybridize in a postmodern or post-postmodern way. Oh, my head's going off the screen. I don't care. Anyway, those are my weird, crazy hot takes on this. I was, again, pretty happy with the winners. Pretty happy. And I look back over I'm going to do this real quick. 2021, I don't know. That's pretty bad, in my opinion. 2020, I love Sound of Metal. So I'm going to show that to 100 students in about 5 days. And I love The Father, and I like Judas and the Black Messiah. And Minari is good. I would prefer those over Nomadland. I don't know that Nomadland can live forever. Whatever. Parasite won here. Again, whatever, but Marriage Story is really good, etc. There's several there I like, but I like them as a dad. Like, I have dad taste in 2019, So Marriage Story, Irishman, Ford versus Ferrari, even Joker. This is not looking good right here. This is looking pretty bad. I'm not liking any. Bohemian Rhapsody is terrible. I'm sorry. I shouldn't rag on movies, but it's not good. Oh, and there's the Marvel nod. I forgot about that one. So and I thought 2017 was lame because at least 3 billboards in Dunkirk and maybe Get Out were better than Shape of Water. I mean, you can a Fandom Thread. You go back through these lists and they seem sort of dumb sometimes, but I don't know that this one will. It will be interesting to find out. Time to look at the chat. I think. How y'all doing? Lots of people here. This is great. And by the way, you can get on my letterbox. I already brought this up. I do stuff there. So go ahead and go over there. Letterbox, Substack, etc. Support the channel by subscribe to my Substack. You can do it free or paid. One of those. I'm going to get this off of here. I'm going to look at the chat now and interact with that. It's fun. There we go. The way... I'm reading from the top. The Whale is one of the worst films I have ever seen. I have seen a lot of that, a lot of hate on my Letterboxd page from friends, people I follow on there. They do not like it. And I wonder if the whole problem with the movie is it exploitative to obese people? That's the worry from day one with me on that one. And we're just talking about large people being sad. I really don't know. So I'll take a look at that at some point in time. Yeah, Banshees didn't win anything. It's a bit of a pity. It totally is. It should have won something. Maybe the screenplay, but I don't know that movie was for the Academy necessarily. You set your movie in 1920s Ireland. You do some Irish folktale stuff in it. You have the accents. I really don't know that had a wide appeal. I think you'd have to look for strong quality in a film. But there's certain turnoffs there that shouldn't be there, but are. Yeah. Yeah, the best actress should have been... I don't know should have been. I just like Cate Blanchett a lot in that movie. I thought Tar... I don't know who else could have done it. And I don't know why they would not have picked her... Other than, there's got to be in the Academy, in the voting, like, I know her, I know people who know her, she's a nice person to me on the set kind of stuff. She's a mean person on the set. I feel like there's got to be that when on the voting, and that's why some people don't ever win. I don't know that about Cate Blanchett, by the way. I always worry about, like, they're not thinking about the real performance, and was that hard? It's sometimes about status. The Oscars would gain a lot more recognition if they had a democratic system where the public voted on the films, not just the people in Hollywood. What do you want to direct democracy on that? I don't know who should vote. If it's the critics, they're going to have their biases, like paid professional critics. You know what they should do is YouTube movie channel. YouTube movie channel creators, yes. No system would win. I do think we could start our own alternative version of this and correct it in some cases. But I'm not going to whine about who won and lost. It's not a big deal. If the masses were given the option, most awards would go to superhero franchises. Yeah, in a way, the masses do have a vote. Actually, there is a vote, and it's called the box office. It's whatever makes the most money. Now, you could say the marketers are kind of in charge of that because whoever does the best marketing job, is the real creating the winner. Yet, probably Avatar would have won by a landslide or a superhero movie. Yeah. Well, I think that's its own voting and should take, it's been taken seriously forever. What was the best decade for the Oscars? Oh, gosh. Really? Do you want to look at that? Why the heck not? I have time. I'm going to take not a quick look at this. I got to bring this up here. The best decade, the wild guess is the 70s. I don't. For maybe just two of the Best Picture winners, I'll show you which ones. Um, oh shoot! I closed my window. Let me look at it real quick. I would think the 70s. Because I believe they gave the award to The French Connection, which in hindsight, you look at that movie, it's a lot of genre aspects of The French Connection. It's a hybrid genre thing. It's like a cop movie, some detective noir stuff in it. It's like a gritty, realistic documentary picture. So The French Connection, I was thinking of it today, and it reminds me of Everything Everywhere All at Once, just in that sense, that it may be an unexpected, unlikely kind of movie to win. It wouldn't have won 20 years before, probably not. Wild guess. But, oh yeah. So the 70s, here are the Best Picture winners. You can look them up for yourself. Patton, great movie. French Connection, great. The Godfather, great. The Sting, eh. The Godfather 2, fantastic. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, fantastic. Okay, that's the first half. So we got, 4 out of 5 memorable, rewatchable sort of movies. The second half is not great. Rocky, Annie Hall, Deer Hunter, Kramer versus Kramer. That's not as good in my opinion. But, I mean, they knocked it out of the park in the first half. The 80s is pretty lame in my opinion. The 90s, not great, even worse. Oh, man, what a snob I am. But, I would say the 70s. The 60s aren't too bad either. So, that's my hot, quick take on that. I should do a video on that. Top Gun was robbed for best cinematography. Top Gun was robbed for everything. Top Gun, Tom Cruise should have won. A 60-year-old playing a hotshot fighter pilot who goes Mach 10. Physically impossible. It's a miracle. He's defying gravity. There's a reading of that movie where it's about de-aging or anti-aging. Here's a 60-year-old who can be the best fighter pilot ever, which is not possible in real life. You know, his skin is perfect. It's not sagging. And he's defying gravity. There's a shot in that movie where he's going up. I forget what Mach it is, but it's ridiculous. And it is, like, the old men are better than the young men kind of thing. So he should win for that, you know. Yeah, lots of people like Everything Everywhere. Well, no, a couple people don't. Everything Everywhere. The Batman would have won, but most Marvel films have been trash recently besides the special effects. Yeah, they're formulaic. Let's put it that way. I have not seen Puss in Boots, but people do like it, so I will go watch that. Do you think the Oscars aren't representing Marvel because they just dang want to? They just dang want to, or because they're all bad to mediocre? That's a great question. Black Panther obviously got nominated, as we saw. Lord of the Rings eventually got its win. Star Wars never. Did a Star Wars movie get nominated? I mean, the original Star Wars got Best Picture nominee. I genuinely don't know. I wonder if there's a strong backlash among the older set, and the Academy, as you know, skews older. You look at me and you think I'm old. Well, it's old people older than me, and they do not know anything about superhero movies. They don't like them. Some of them don't. I remind my students all the time, you guys have to realize most of you are young who watch this channel. You're under 30 years old. You have to realize being older than my age or older, it's a completely different world. We do not understand your world. I told my students the other day that anybody under the age of 35, maybe 40, doesn't know that esports is a gigantic phenomenon. And when you try to explain to someone my age or older, hey, esports is a gigantic phenomenon. It gets more viewers than football games, etc. We just like, what? Where? Who? We've never heard of this. It's not in our lives. Now, you take that insight and you apply it to all of these movies that are for younger people, mostly are targeted younger people, like Marvel, like DC, and so on. I have no doubt when you grow up to be 60, you'll be like, I remember back in the day, right? When we had Marvel movies. And you will struggle with the same problem. What will the younger generation be interested in at that point? I have no clue. But yeah, I don't think the Academy is caught up to superhero movies, but I don't think they're that good either in terms of quality. Do I? There's some good stuff in Marvel. Avengers is well made. Avengers is well made. It's the film grammar and it's kind of interesting. In fact, today I watched Avengers: Infinity War and I was like, okay, that 5-minute scene there is kind of well done. I can use that in film class to explain some film grammar concepts, like the 180-degree flip, but a bunch of stuff. It was an exposition scene, you may remember it, between Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're talking about Infinity Stones. It could be super boring. It's just exposition, but it's done quite well, or pretty well at least, well enough to think about how it's made. So I will say that there's some stuff in it. But also, I feel exhausted when I watch one of those movies, and I don't care about the stakes quite often, because the characters will just come back in some new incarnation. If they die, I don't care. I was thinking about this because there's a TV show I watch. I'll give it away. Lost. Did you ever watch Lost? It's 20 years old now. I still really like the show, despite some things in it. There's a character in Lost who dies. I won't say who. I am still bothered by the fact this character is dead. I thought this character was alive, could have come back alive, but no, they didn't bring this character back. Character's dead. I'm still mad about that. It still got me emotionally, that show. So when you have death and it matters, which it does in real life, in your art, why doesn't it matter in your art? Why aren't you making death matter? Why are these characters coming back? Over and over again. That's a dad rant, okay? And so I wonder if that is a bothersome, like, the fake melodramatic aspect of Marvel. It's my speculation. It's melodramatic, but it doesn't matter. The melodrama and the emotion of it doesn't matter. Or seem to. Or in the next incarnation, it'll just resurrect somebody. So BAFTA, the British awards, gave a sweep to All Quiet on the Western Front. Really? I wonder why. I don't know. That's interesting. It's deserved. Good. All right. Best Actress is so much more about the narrative than how good the performance was. Yeah, probably. The Oscars are too long. That's like the whole... They've been complaining about Oscars being too long since 1928. It can't be long enough, in their opinion, probably. I mean, if they were too long, they would have changed it long ago, but they haven't. Banshee should have won the Best Original Screenplay. Yeah, probably. No, yeah, the problem with this Oscars, there's no slapping incident. And then no announcement of a wrong Best Picture, so it was boring. They didn't screw up or make a show of it. Haven't they exhausted their possibilities by now? You screw up the announcement of the award, and then you have one celebrity slap another. I don't know where else you could go after that. The stupid Pinocchio film won Best Animated Picture. You know, the decline in children's fare is really, really bad. In fact, Hollywood should, and well, movie studios should be ashamed of themselves, because kids and family fare I speak as a parent who has kids, is just awful. You are searching for stuff to watch, and it's either the schmaltzy, terribly made stuff, or it's for little kids only, or it's for adults, and you know they don't make movies for families who have kids between like ages 8 and 14, or a lot of kids. I mean, the reason I say that is thematically, psychologically, with some of these kids, they shouldn't be able to handle some stuff that's happening in these movies. So they either make movies that are too adult or too kiddie, and it's just way too bad. It is hard to find a good family movie that's well done artistically. So that was one of my beefs about Pinocchio. Is it's so darn bleak. and it wasn't a kids movie. Now I know animated movies aren't just for kids. I got that. People come to my channels to complain like you're saying this. No, I'm not. You can have an animated movie for adults, fine. But anything that says Pinocchio with a cute puppet with singing musical stuff is saying it's for kids. So I would, if someone wants to pick up a $10 million or 10 billion, I don't know how much, a $10 million bill off the sidewalk, make a good kids movie. I would think people might flock to it, or parents, families would appreciate that. Here's a great take, I think, and I've never seen the movies. I don't know. The Whale. The Wrestler is a much better version of The Whale. Okay, so go watch The Wrestler. I did suspect that. Showing off these people's bodies and they're being exploited in The Wrestler. We did a professional wrestler and a professional stripper in that movie. I knew that Aronofsky was probably going to do that in The Whale. You just look at it, like, he's going to show off an obese person, exploit. Think about how the body of that person is being exploited. But I did wonder if The Wrestler or The Whale was saying the same thing as The Wrestler. It was just going to be sadder. So watch The Wrestler. I think that still holds up as a good movie. Yeah. That's good. Several people commenting on that way. That's great. Yeah. So anyway, we liked some of these Oscar winners, some of us, and we thought this is probably the first time in several years, and probably several more years, I'm going to say Oscars were pretty decent. I have friends who are still ragging on, they've checked out completely the movie industry and so on. They used to be big movie fans, now they hate it because The Shape of Water won Best Picture or something like that. Like, how could that stupid movie win? Green Book, not that great of a movie in my opinion. And so on and so forth. And I think Hollywood's posturing. I think if we watch Everything Everywhere, it's relatable and fun. I think. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this and the Oscars themselves. Maybe you did, but hopefully you got something out of this. Subscribe, Letterboxd, Substack. Those are free. Why not do that? And so on and so forth. So Discord, catch you on Discord as well. Oh, here, I got one more question. What is the worst Best Picture winner of all time? Are you really serious? The worst one? Okay. Before I leave, you got me on this one. Let's go through. I'm looking at the 1940s. The question is it just bad in and of itself, a bad movie in and of itself, or is it bad compared to the ones it was up against? So yeah, those are two different things, aren't they? I don't know. Around the World in 80 Days is not a good movie, but it was up against a lot of not very good movies as I'm looking at this list. So, and this is obviously super subjective. Like, what's the worst ever? I hated The Deer Hunter, but it's the political messaging in that. But yet, it's not up against anything spectacular. 1980, Ordinary People won, and it lost, or The Elephant Man, Raging Bull, and Tess lost to Ordinary People. That's pretty bad. I don't like Ordinary People compared to those movies. There you go. But I genuinely don't know. I'd have to think about that pretty hard. What do you think it is? What's the worst Best Picture winner ever? You say Crash, but like Forrest Gump, Titanic. But Titanic wasn't up against anything that great. Look at it's up against. Ugh. So Shakespeare in Love beating out The Thin Red Line and Saving Private Ryan is pretty bad. Now in hindsight. So those Chicago, but Chicago was up. That's probably it. 2002, Chicago beats out Gangs of New York, which I actually like, is a Scorsese movie, The Hours, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and The Pianist. That's bad. I think that's the worst of those 5 movies by a lot, in my opinion. Now, you may love musicals, so, but when I look at Crash, like, I don't know what Crash was up against that was really, yeah, and even Slumdog Millionaire. So I would think I would probably compare them to what they're up against, and that Chicago win is pretty bad, especially in hindsight. You know, what would all the kids have voted for? Lord of the Rings, Two Towers. And what would I have? I don't know what I voted for. But The Pianist is still a rock solid, excellent movie. To me, one of the best Holocaust movies ever. I think I really like it a lot. I have not covered it on the channel, so there you go. There's my opinion. Of course, that whole time I was looking at Best Picture winners. Anyway, hopefully this was fun. This was all just for fun, stupid movie opinions, but I hope the best for you in your movie watching life. I hope this is helpful to you. It's a pretty good year. Pretty good year for movies, I think. Anyway, see you all later.